Hey guys, so I've been reading this book by astronaut Chris Hadfield, and he was the commander, one of the commanders on the International Space Station, and he wrote a book called An Astronaut's Guide to Life on Earth. And it has some amazing motivational advice in it, and what he went through as an astronaut in space and what he did to train to be an astronaut. And there's so many things you can glean from that to training and becoming an engineer. And one of those things that I really appreciated was the phrase that he used was called aim to be a zero. And what that means, or how he described it, was in a new situation, as a new astronaut, as a new engineer, you should approach a situation, if you are brand new, as that you're there to learn and that everyone can teach you something. So to approach a new situation with humility, and also to look at people who, you treat the people the same way if they are a student that you're visiting in school or the CEO of a company. He says, as an astronaut, you can learn something from everything, from everyone. And I remember going and visiting my platform, and one of the things that I was told to do was not to touch or turn any valves. It didn't matter if I designed those valves. It didn't matter if I, had them designed and construction could install them. It was like, we're not letting an engineer turn a valve. There are people who are professional at that and who know what they're doing. So the way you should look at being an engineer, especially straight off the bat, is that you can learn something from everyone. And aiming to be a zero basically means being humble. And eventually your humility will make you a +1. It will make you the teammate that people want to have on their team, because you can contribute, because you've been listening and learning from all of the disciplines that you're working with on your team. So the other piece of advice I wanted to leave you was something that my uncle told me as I was leaving for college. He's a chemist, PhD chemist, and he told me that no matter what, now this is a practical piece of advice, no matter what, always put a 0 in front of your decimals. And what that basically means is using what they call a leading 0. So I'm going to use my trusty clipboard to show you what I mean. So as an engineer, you're going to be doing a lot of math, and you're going to be writing down a lot of numbers. So when you do, and you have a decimal place, don't leave it like that. Always because it can be mistaken as a 5. Somebody might forget what that is and maybe not see what that is, or maybe your pencil eraser will erase it. So if you're trying to show a decimal, always put that leading 0 in there. So important. Something that is so minor you wouldn't think would be a big deal, but there have been numerous engineering errors because of decimals. One being on the space, on NASA, there was a spacecraft called the Mariner back in the 60s that had a major error and couldn't take off because they were off by a magnitude. There was a misplaced decimal. So decimals are very important. So remember, aim to be a 0 when you're doing new things, and don't forget the leading 0, because it's super important. Okay, see you next week, guys.